Man, I'll put you in a nursing home the first chance I get. Those 12 words didn't just end a conversation. They ended 7 years of illusions. My name is Brian. I'm 45 years old, and I own a small HVAC company. Nothing glamorous. My days begin before sunrise, crawling through attics that feel like ovens in the summer, and repairing furnaces in freezing basements during winter. I've spent most of my adult life building something with my own hands. Every truck in my company, every customer, every paycheck, I earned them one service call at a time. I wasn't rich. I was reliable. And for a long time, I believed reliability was enough to build a family. When I met Heather, she was already carrying more weight than most people could imagine. She was raising 2 children after her first marriage collapsed. Logan was 15, already taller than his mother, stubborn and quiet. Emma had just turned 11 and still had enough innocence left to smile when I brought pizza home after work. I didn't see baggage. I saw people who had been through enough. Heather never promised me perfection. She never pretended blending families would be easy. She simply said, "They need stability." I believed I could give them that. We married less than a year later. From the outside, our life looked almost ordinary. Inside, it quietly became my responsibility. The mortgage? Mine. Electricity. Water. Gas. Internet. Phone plans. Health insurance. Car insurance. Groceries. Vehicle repairs. Property taxes. School supplies. Christmas. Birthdays. Vacations. When Logan needed braces, I paid. When Emma wanted to join gymnastics, I paid. When Heather's transmission failed without warning, I paid. When the roof leaked after a spring storm, I paid. Nobody forced me. That was never the problem. I wanted to. I believed families weren't built by blood. They were built by showing up every single day. So I showed up. Every morning before 6. Every evening covered in dust and insulation. Every weekend fixing something around the house before anyone else even noticed it was broken. I wasn't trying to buy love. I was trying to build trust. Somewhere along the way, though, appreciation quietly transformed into expectation. It happened so slowly I almost missed it. The lights stayed on because they always did. The refrigerator stayed full because it always had. The insurance cards appeared in wallets every year without anyone asking how much they cost. Family vacations simply happened. Like magic. Nobody asked how many emergency service calls I worked on Saturdays to afford them. Nobody asked why my knees hurt every evening. Nobody noticed the invoices stacked on my desk or the payroll I worried about before I ever worried about myself. I became infrastructure. Necessary. Invisible. Emma wasn't cruel. Not at first. She simply grew up believing everything around her was normal. Her phone upgraded every couple of years. Her car insurance appeared without discussion. College savings quietly accumulated in an account she never saw. To her, life simply worked. Logan was different. As he entered his 20s, something hardened inside him. Every disagreement became a reminder. "You're not my dad." Sometimes he didn't even have to say the words. The look was enough. The dismissive shrug. The eye roll. The smirk whenever I suggested something. If Heather asked him to mow the lawn, he'd do it. If I asked, "I'll get to it," he rarely did. Heather always had an explanation. "He's just stressed. He's young. You know how boys are. Don't take it personally." That phrase became the soundtrack of my marriage. Don't take it personally. Every slight. Every insult. Every dismissal. Every time I was treated like an outsider in the very house I paid for. Don't take it personally. I kept telling myself respect would come with maturity. That one day Logan would realize who had actually been there. His biological father drifted in and out of his life whenever it was convenient. Birthday texts. The occasional lunch. Promises that rarely happened. Meanwhile, I was paying his phone bill, his car insurance, his health insurance, his gas, helping with community college expenses, replacing the tires on the truck he drove, covering emergencies before he even knew they existed. Yet somehow, I was still the outsider. The breaking point came on an ordinary Tuesday night. Those are always the dangerous ones. Nobody expects their life to split in half on an ordinary Tuesday. We were eating dinner. Nothing fancy. Grilled chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans. Heather was talking about work. Emma was scrolling through her phone between bites. Logan complained that his insurance deductible was too high after getting a speeding ticket. I calmly explained that accidents and violations increase premiums. "It doesn't work like magic," he laughed. Not because something was funny. Because he found me amusing. "You always have an opinion." I smiled politely. "I pay the policy. I tend to notice these things." He leaned back in his chair, crossed his arms, looked directly at me. Then he grinned. "You know something?" I waited. "When you're old." His smile got wider. "I'll put you in a nursing home the first chance I get." The room went silent. Emma stopped scrolling. Even the refrigerator seemed louder. I looked at him. He wasn't angry. He wasn't emotional. He genuinely thought it was funny. I waited for Heather. Surely she'd say something. Surely she'd tell him he'd crossed the line. She sighed, rolled her eyes, then looked at me instead of him. "Brian." Her voice was tired. "Don't take it personally." I didn't answer. I simply looked around the table. At the house I'd been paying for. At the family I'd spent 7 years supporting. At the people who had grown so comfortable with my sacrifices that they no longer saw me as a human being, only as the man who paid the bills. And in that moment, something inside me became perfectly quiet. I smiled. Not because anything was funny. Because anger would have given them something familiar to hide behind. They knew how to survive shouting. Heather would cry. Logan would raise his voice. Emma would disappear upstairs. By morning, I would be blamed for ruining dinner, and his words would be buried beneath the wreckage of my reaction. So I gave them nothing. I placed my fork beside my plate and folded my hands. "Let me make sure I understand," I said. "You believe I'm good enough to pay for your life, but not worthy of basic respect." Logan's grin faded. "I was joking." "No," I said. "You were testing how much humiliation I would swallow." Heather shifted in her chair. "Brian, please. Don't turn this into something bigger." I looked at her. For 7 years, she had used softness to disguise betrayal. Every time her children crossed a line, she asked me to step backward. Every time I asked for support, she asked for patience. Somehow, peace always meant my silence. "It is bigger," I said. "It's bigger than one sentence." Emma stared at her plate. Logan scoffed. "So what do you want? An apology?" I studied him. He still didn't understand. An apology was a coin he thought he could throw on the table and use to purchase another month of comfort. He believed words could erase contempt because my money had always erased consequences. "I want a decision," I said. Heather frowned. "What decision?" "Either I am an equal member of this family, or I stop financing people who treat me like an intruder." Nobody moved. The silence was different this time. Not shock. Calculation. Logan glanced at Heather, waiting for her to rescue him. Emma finally looked up. Her face held the nervous expression of someone who had just heard the floorboards crack beneath a house she assumed would stand forever. Heather forced a small laugh. "You're being dramatic." "Am I? You're talking about money because of one stupid comment. I'm talking about 7 years. I stood. My chair scraped across the floor, and all 3 of them flinched. For 7 years, I have paid for nearly everything in this house. I never demanded gratitude. I never asked anyone to call me Dad. I asked for respect. Tonight, Logan threatened to discard me when I become inconvenient, and you told me not to take it personally. He didn't threaten you." Heather said. He revealed how he sees me. Logan rolled his eyes again. That small movement settled everything. I nodded. Here is the ultimatum. From this moment forward, I will be treated as an equal in this home. My voice will matter. My boundaries will matter. When one of your children insults me, you will not excuse it. Or I will stop paying for the lifestyle all of you have mistaken for a birthright. Heather's face hardened. You would punish the whole family? No. I would stop rewarding contempt. Logan pushed back from the table. You're bluffing. He said it with confidence. Why wouldn't he? He had watched me bend for years. He had seen me absorb every insult and still pay his bills on time. In his mind, I wasn't a man with limits. I was a machine. Machines don't walk away. They keep running until they break. I smiled at him again. You should hope so. Then I carried my plate to the sink, rinsed it, and went into my office. Heather followed me 10 minutes later. She closed the door behind her and stood with her arms crossed. You embarrassed him. I stared at her. That sentence hurt more than Logan's insult. Not because it surprised me. Because it confirmed everything. He told me he'd throw me into a nursing home. He was trying to get a reaction. And you gave him permission. I did not. You defended him. I was trying to calm things down. No, Heather. You were trying to calm me down. You never asked him to leave the table. You never demanded an apology. You never told him I deserved better. Her eyes filled with frustration. You knew blending a family would be difficult. Difficult is not the same as degrading. He's young. He's 22. He's still figuring things out. He has been figuring things out with my money. She looked away. There it was. The truth neither of us wanted to speak. Heather's children were allowed to reject me emotionally because I remained useful financially. She could tolerate the imbalance as long as the mortgage cleared and the refrigerator stayed full. My pain was manageable. Losing my income was not. You wouldn't really cut him off, she said. Her voice was quieter now. It wasn't a question. It was faith. Not faith in my love. Faith in my weakness. I opened the drawer beside my desk and removed a folder. Inside were copies of insurance policies, phone contracts, vehicle payments, bank transfers, and every recurring expense I had carried without complaint. I placed it between us. Tomorrow morning I begin. Her face changed. Brian. He has until the end of the month to leave. You can't throw my son out. He is an adult. He works part-time because I cover everything else. That arrangement is over. You're destroying this family. I leaned back in my chair. No. I'm finding out whether there ever was one. She stared at me for a long time. Then she left. I heard her footsteps in the hallway. Heard Logan's bedroom door open. Heard their voices drop into urgent whispers. For once, they were discussing me. Not as a husband. Not as a stepfather. As a financial emergency. I slept in the guest room that night. At 6 the next morning, I made coffee and sat at my desk. The house was silent. I opened my laptop. First, I removed Logan from the company health plan. The coverage would remain active until the end of the billing period. After that, he would need his own policy. Then I canceled the automatic payment on his truck. I removed his phone from the family plan. I froze the card he used for gas and groceries. I canceled the monthly transfer into his checking account. I removed his access to the roadside assistance account, the streaming services, and the gym membership he had not paid for in 3 years. Each click was quiet. Almost disappointing. 7 years of sacrifice vanished through a series of confirmation screens. No thunder. No broken windows. Just small boxes asking whether I was sure. I was. By 7:30, Logan came downstairs. His hair was disordered, his face pale with sleep and irritation. He opened the refrigerator, grabbed a bottle of juice, and drank directly from it. Then his phone vibrated. He read the message. His expression changed. What did you do? I took another sip of coffee. What I told you I would do. He stared at the screen. My card was declined. Yes. My insurance app says my coverage is ending. Yes. He looked toward the hallway. Mom! Heather appeared within seconds, already dressed, as though she had been awake waiting for the explosion. Brian, stop this. I already stopped. Logan stepped closer. You can't cancel my truck payment. I didn't cancel it. I canceled my payment. The bill still exists. It simply belongs to you now. I can't afford it. Then sell the truck. His mouth fell open. That vehicle had been his pride. I had paid the down payment, the insurance, the registration, the repairs, and nearly every tank of gas. He had accepted each gift without once considering the hands that earned it. You're serious? He whispered. Yes. Heather gripped the back of a chair. Please think about what you're doing. I have thought about it for 7 years. Logan's fear turned into anger. So you're kicking me out because of a joke? No. I'm asking you to live according to your beliefs. You see me as a useless old man waiting to be discarded. Fine. Stop living on that useless old man's money. His face reddened. Where am I supposed to go? You have until the end of the month. That's not enough time. It was enough time for you to decide my future. He looked at Heather. She looked at me. For the first time, either of them had an answer. By that evening, Logan was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open, searching apartment listings he could not afford. And I watched the first crack spread through the life my silence had purchased. The first 48 hours were almost surreal. Nobody apologized. Nobody admitted I had been right. Instead, everyone behaved as though I had committed some unimaginable act of cruelty by refusing to continue financing people who openly disrespected me. Heather barely spoke to me. When she did, every sentence carried the same exhausted disappointment. I can't believe you've become this person. The irony almost made me laugh. Become? I hadn't become someone else. For the first time in 7 years, I had simply stopped pretending everything was fine. Logan spent the first day making phone calls. Friends. Co-workers. His biological father. Anyone who might rescue him from adulthood. By evening, reality had already begun dismantling his confidence. Rent wasn't cheap. Neither were utilities. Security deposits. Internet. Car insurance. Fuel. Food. Suddenly every dollar had a destination. Every convenience carried a price tag. I heard him pacing upstairs long after midnight. The next morning, Emma quietly entered the kitchen while I was making coffee. She looked uncomfortable. Almost guilty. Are we still going on vacation next month? I looked at her. For years I would have answered automatically. Of course. Everything was already paid for. Now I simply shook my head. No. She blinked. What do you mean? I canceled it yesterday. Her shoulders dropped. But we've been planning that trip forever. I know. She stared at the floor. We already told everyone. I understand. She nodded slowly before walking away without another word. That conversation hurt more than I expected. Emma wasn't cruel like Logan. She had simply grown up inside a life where sacrifices appeared invisible. To her, vacations weren't gifts. They were traditions. Like Christmas. Like birthdays. Like electricity. She had never stopped to wonder who made those traditions possible. Heather confronted me that afternoon. You canceled the beach house? Yes. The deposit is gone. I know. The kids are devastated. I folded another invoice and placed it inside a folder. They're experiencing disappointment. They're being punished. No. They are. They're living within a different budget. Our budget. She emphasized the word our. I looked directly at her. Our budget? She hesitated. For years those words would have pleased me. They sounded like partnership. Now they sounded dishonest. Our checking account receives my business income, I said quietly. Our mortgage is drafted from my account. Our insurance comes through my company. Our vehicles are paid with my earnings. Our vacations happen because I schedule extra service calls during July. I leaned forward. When did my responsibility become our budget? Heather didn't answer. Because she couldn't. The truth had become impossible to avoid. She hadn't noticed how much I carried because I had carried it without complaint. Silence makes sacrifice look effortless. Around dinner time, Logan came downstairs carrying a notebook. His confidence was gone. Can we talk? I nodded. He sat across from me. I've been looking at apartments. And? I can't afford any. I suspected that. My truck payment is almost $700. I know. My insurance quote without your policy. He swallowed. It's almost double. I waited. My phone company wants a deposit. I waited again. Rent. He rubbed both hands across his face. I didn't know rent was that much. I finally spoke. Neither did you know groceries cost what they do. He looked away. Or electricity. Silence. Or health insurance. More silence. Or oil changes. He shifted uncomfortably. Or registration fees. I get it. No. I shook my head. You've just started getting it. He didn't argue. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked less like an angry young man and more like someone seeing the world without a safety net. I'll figure something out. I hope you do. He stood to leave. Then stopped. What if I can't? I answered honestly. Then you'll have to make different choices. He nodded once before returning upstairs. Heather had been listening from the hallway. You could help him. I already did. You know what I mean. I gave him 7 years of help. He's your family. I stood slowly. No. She frowned. He was my family when I believed respect existed in both directions. You're giving up. I'm accepting reality. She crossed her arms. So that's it? No. This is what accountability looks like. That evening my phone rang. Logan's biological father. I almost let it go to voicemail. Instead I answered. What exactly are you doing? He demanded. I'm allowing you to parent your son. You can't dump this on me. I closed my eyes. I've carried responsibilities that belong to you for 7 years. I never asked you to. No. I smiled. You just accepted it. He became quiet. I can't help him. I know. You know? I've always known. That silence lasted several seconds. Finally he sighed. I don't have the money. I noticed. You're really walking away? No. I've stopped standing in your place. After hanging up, I sat alone on the back porch. The evening was unusually still. No arguments. No laughter. Just the distant sound of traffic beyond the neighborhood. I realized something that unsettled me. Nobody had asked how I felt. Not Heather. Not Logan. Not Emma. Not even the man who had disappeared years earlier. Every conversation revolved around money. Payments. Bills. Housing. Insurance. Vacations. Nobody mourned the relationship. They mourned the benefits. That realization hurt more than Logan's insult ever could. 3 days later, the moving boxes appeared. Not because Logan wanted independence. Because he had no choice. He had found a tiny room for rent across town after a coworker agreed to split expenses. The room was barely large enough for a bed and a dresser. The neighborhood wasn't great. The commute doubled. But it was all he could manage. I watched him carry boxes toward his truck. Heather cried quietly on the porch. Emma hugged him several times. I helped load the heavier furniture. Neither of us spoke. When everything was packed, Logan finally looked at me. I never thought you'd actually do it. I know. I thought. He stopped. What? You'd always be there. I held his eyes. I was. He climbed into the truck. 20 minutes later, he drove away. The house became strangely quiet. Not peaceful. Just empty. For the first time in years, everyone inside those walls understood something I had known all along. Keeping a family afloat is invisible. Until the person doing it finally stops. After Logan moved out, the house did not collapse all at once. It weakened quietly. That was the cruelest part. For years, Heather had believed the household ran on routine. She thought bills paid themselves because they arrived and disappeared before she had to worry about them. She thought the pantry remained full because groceries were simply part of life. She thought insurance, repairs, fuel, taxes, subscriptions, and emergencies were background noise. Then I stopped muffling the sound. I did not abandon the mortgage or utilities. I still lived there. I still protected what belonged to me. But everything beyond necessity ended. No restaurant dinners. No shopping money. No upgraded phones. No entertainment subscriptions. No weekend trips. No emergency transfers whenever one of the children made a careless decision. The house still functioned. The lifestyle did not. Emma noticed first. One afternoon, she approached me while I was checking invoices at the dining table. She held her phone in both hands, almost like an offering. My data isn't working. I know. Did you forget to pay it? No. She waited. I continued reading. Then what happened? I changed the plan. Her eyebrows tightened. To what? A basic one. But I used more data than that. Then used the wireless internet at home. She stared at me as though I had spoken another language. What about when I'm out? You'll have to manage it. Her expression shifted from confusion to offense. I've never had to do that before. I know. Those two words followed everyone through the next several weeks. Heather discovered the grocery budget. She came home one evening carrying 4 bags instead of the usual 10. She set them on the counter harder than necessary. Do you know how expensive food is? Yes. I spent almost $200, and this is all I got. I know. We can't live like this. We are living like this. She looked at me with an anger that was already beginning to crack under fear. For the first time in our marriage, she was confronting the actual cost of the life she had helped distribute but never helped maintain. Her income covered less than she imagined. After her car payment, personal expenses, and the credit cards she had quietly accumulated, almost nothing remained. She had always assumed my earnings were family money while hers were something private, something she could spend without explanation. That arrangement ended too. When her car needed new brakes, she left the estimate on my desk. I returned it and signed. She found me in the garage that evening. You saw the estimate? Yes. It isn't safe to drive. Then get it repaired. With what money? Your money. She stared at me. We're married. That didn't matter when your son humiliated me. Why do you keep bringing that up? Because you keep asking for the benefits of partnership after refusing its responsibilities. Her face tightened. I said I was sorry. No. You said the situation had gone too far. That is not the same thing. She looked away. I could see the resentment in her posture. She wanted the old version of me back. The quiet man. The dependable man. The man who swallowed pain and opened his wallet before anyone noticed he was bleeding. But that man had finally understood what his silence cost. Logan called after his first week in the rented room. His voice sounded different. Smaller. The truck needs gas. I said nothing. I don't get paid until Friday. Still, I waited. I need to get to work. What are you asking me? He exhaled sharply. Can you send me $50? No. The word landed between us. Brian, come on. No. I'm trying. So keep trying. You know I can't lose this job. Then find a way to get there. His frustration returned. You really don't care what happens to me. That accusation might once have destroyed me. Now it only revealed how little he understood. I cared for 7 years. I said. You confused care with obligation. He became quiet. I didn't mean what I said. You meant enough of it. It was one stupid sentence. No, Logan. It was the sentence that explained everything else. He hung up. 2 days later, Heather told me he had sold the truck. He bought an older car with rust around the wheel wells and a passenger window that did not close properly. For the first time, he owned something he could actually afford. Heather described it like a tragedy. I heard it as progress. Emma lost her private dance lessons the following week. The studio emailed me about the overdue payment. I forwarded the message to Heather and did nothing else. Emma cried in her bedroom. Heather stood outside the door, listening. You're hurting her, she whispered. No. The cost is hurting her. You could pay it. Yes. But you won't. No. She looked at me as though restraint were cruelty. That was when I realized none of them had understood the ultimatum. They thought I wanted apologies. They thought kind words would restore the old arrangement. But I had not withdrawn support to force affection from them. I had withdrawn it because I finally understood that money had hidden the truth. Without my payments, every relationship inside the house was exposed. Heather did not know how to manage a budget. Emma did not know how to accept limits. Logan did not know how to survive without rescue. And I did not know who I was when I was no longer solving everyone's problems. That last truth frightened me most. For years, usefulness had become my identity. I measured my worth through paid invoices, repaired cars, stocked cupboards, and relieved expressions. I told myself I was providing love. Maybe part of me was. But another part was begging to be needed. I had made myself indispensable because I was terrified they might never choose me freely. Now I had my answer. A few weeks after Logan left, the furnace stopped working. It happened just before midnight. Heather found me awake in bed. The heat is off. I heard. Aren't you going to check it? In the morning? She stared at me in disbelief. You always fix things immediately. Yes. It's getting cold. Then get another blanket. I turned off the lamp. She remained standing in the doorway. For several seconds neither of us moved. Then she spoke in a voice I barely recognized. We don't know how to do any of this without you. I looked at her silhouette in the dark. At last, the truth had entered our house. Not gratitude. Not love. Dependence. And dependence was not the same as family. The next morning, I repaired the furnace because the house was mine too. Heather watched from the basement stairs as I replaced the failed igniter. She did not complain. She did not offer advice. When I finished, she said something I had not heard in years. Thank you? I nodded and carried my tools upstairs. The words should have satisfied me. Instead, they felt late. Respect given only after comfort disappears is not respect. It is fear wearing a polite face. And I had no intention of mistaking the two again.